Hi, this is Joe Chambers. Welcome to Musicians Hall of Fame Backstage. Today's show is the complete interview we did with Greta Van Fleet March 30th, 2021. Hope you enjoy it. If you do, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new content. Once again, Greta Van Fleet. Welcome to Musicians Hall of Fame. Our guest today is Greta Van Fleet. Thank you guys so much for coming in and hanging out.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Feel like old friends now.
Yeah,
we've had a glorious day, a mystical
We go
day.
way back.
Yeah. An hour?
An hour? Was it?
I think hour and a half, maybe. My nephew, who you guys met earlier, Jimmy Wood, he told me about you guys about 4 years ago. He said, check this band out. And I'm like, geez, who is that? You know, and so you've been on the back burner for me just because of the museum. Of course, the YouTube thing we've been doing for about a year and a half. And so definitely for that. And then, of course, I think the first time I talked to maybe Brittany or somebody who's your manager or whatever, before the COVID-19 hit. And so it's just been kind of waiting.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're here now.
We have arrived.
We've made it.
Help me out.
Frankenmuth, Michigan.
Frankenmuth, Michigan.
Yeah.
And Jake, Josh, Sam, brothers, Danny,
New brother.
Just
God bless him.
brother. He's a good guy.
We adopted him.
That's right.
Well, I honestly, usually I know people that we have on the show. Obviously, we've known each other for, like I said, about an hour and a half.
Way back.
Yeah. And, but I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that I tried to watch as much of your live performances and interviews just to see if you were jerks, you know. And you're not. And I was really
we put on really good.
well, you must be, because I've told everybody, I said, these guys were brought up right. You obviously have gotten very good families, both families. You handle yourselves extremely well. I haven't seen you do anything that would be, you know, if I was your parent, I'd go, no, you know. I mean, I'm sure that they're unbelievably proud of you guys, as is your hometown.
Of course. Yeah, I think families, as we were just talking about, a super important aspect to our lives and our culture.
And especially the way that we're able to travel and write together and you know, just because what this is kind of as a band is family.
The whole operation.
Yeah,
I suppose when you look at it, especially touring, it's like, well, we only really have each other. So, you know, you may be brothers or something, but if we were like, I don't know, if we owned a business together specifically or something, we did something else. I don't know that if we owned a car washing company, we wouldn't get along. But because we travel the world together, we see things, we experience things. I think the relationship that we have with each other has sort of evolved to another degree.
That's a really strong statement. Travel the world. That's just really, especially for, I know you're probably tired of hearing your age, but you guys are, I don't know though, you're really not any younger than the Stones were when they got going, actually. You're just not in trouble all the time.
Yeah. We've been kicked out of any countries.
No, that's
so
true.
that's good.
Yeah.
Only venues for being too young.
Yeah. So you guys were brought up, your dad's a big music blues fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the fruit didn't fall far from the tree with all of y'all, I guess. And so you came by it honestly.
Yeah, we always call it the vinyl playground. And our father had inherited so many records from his parents, our grandparents. And so it was a really eclectic collection of stuff that we were listening to, from big bands, you know, to Aretha Franklin and to, you know, Sam and Dave and Wilson Pickett and that stuff. And then you had, like, you know, the early stuff, the Howlin' Wolf and gosh, you know, it's Sun House.
We started from the beginning.
Yeah.
I think our father kind of was like a bluesologist in a lot of ways. I think. So when we stumbled upon something like the Allman Brothers, he made a very big point of saying, okay, yes, this is what this is. This is where it went, but this is where it came from.
Everything is technical practice to him in a way. It's like, you know, if we're going to acknowledge this, it'd be good to really understand what it is what you're listening to. And that was a pretty good education in music really early on. Of course, we didn't have many friends to talk with about all of this stuff because they wouldn't know what it was. You know, hopefully we've been able to turn a lot of people on to more of that early stuff.
Do you feel like you were kind of forced to listen to some of the early blues stuff, or did you really love it yourself?
Oh, we loved it.
We loved it.
Yeah.
We really dug it.
I mean, it was on. We were hearing it, but we loved to, you know, when we were a little young to be toying with the records, it was sort of, I don't know, should they be, you know, pawing it up and stuff, and they're scratching the needle or the vinyl and everything. But we would do it anyway. We'd love to speed it up and slow it down and do it, you know, and so it was really interesting.
Yeah,
It was
I suppose being at that age and being exposed to something like the blues, I think there's this element of purity within that type of music that spoke to someone completely unbiased by the world by music, by it's so pure, it's so intentional, it's so truthful that I think struck a chord with all of us in a way very early on.
You heard something honest. I suppose everybody's kind of
Honesty
listening
is a
to
big
that.
deal.
So, Jake, you were the first person to get bit by the bug, right?
Yeah. I was around 3, and Dad would leave the instruments out, and then Mom would say, "No, pick them up. You know, the kids are gonna climb all over them and destroy them." He said they'll get sick of them and move away at some point, you know. And some did, but I never did. You know, I just kind of stuck with it.
What was the first song you learned?
That's a good.
Got to be
question.
Smoke on the Water,
It is. Everyone.
right? Probably
Yeah.
Crazy Train.
I can't. I'd have to think about that. I don't know. Probably a Cream song. Probably like "Sunshine of Your Love" or something.
That was your first song?
Probably.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Now, what was the first song the band learned when you became a band?
I think that we were still really focusing in on early blues stuff. I
Yeah.
think we were very much kind of a garage blues band at this point.
When you played your first gig for everybody in town, you came up with the name Greta Van Fleet.
Right.
What was your first song you played for the public?
Do you guys remember? I don't know.
Train kept rolling. I'm just kidding.
Don't.
Somewhere at that biker gig, I remember where it was.
Daniel was
can't
there.
remember.
This was before we messed around a bit before the real Greta Van Fleet was actually born, and Daniel actually attended a show because he was a fan of the band. And going back on what the music we grew up on a lot of similar stuff, and we started saying in like 6th grade, we're like, "Oh, you like the Beatles?" We're like, "Yeah, I like the Beatles."
Yeah,
That's how we
they're pretty
started.
good.
You have a
Check 'em
jazz
out.
bass? I have a jazz bass.
Oh, right, exactly. So then we started getting into music stuff
The drum
together,
kit?
and in my
Yeah, it's like we all have instruments.
right, exactly, because it was such a small town.
Yeah, it was kind of
There-
few and far between. There wasn't a lot of people making music.
So what was the set list like at your first job?
I remember we did a Janis Joplin track, and I can't remember what it was.
I
We
think
also did Spoonful.
Spoonful, yeah. We did some blues numbers. Crossroads, I think, was one of those.
Hendrix.
Born Under a Bad
Hendrix.
Sign.
Hendrix doing Cream.
Right, we did
yeah.
Killing Floor.
Killing Floor. Which is earlier. That's like one of our favorite Hendrix pieces.
And we did some early original stuff that we never.
Well, he
ended
was
up
like you
playing.
guys. I mean, he listened to the same people you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The very roots of things,
Right.
right? It's very interesting, the evolution of music, kind of growing up with things that were expressively and explicitly the roots of music, of blues and folk and soul and R&B, and the fundamentals of where everything exists now. And you can hear a pop song on the radio and go, "Oh, this sounds familiar," because you can reference a record that came 70 years before it. You know?
Mhm.
It's very interesting.
Tom Petty Radio is really good about teaching people where this song came from, originally.
Right,
you
yeah.
know, as well as playing Tom Petty stuff,
Yeah.
which I love.
Yeah.
So, your first drummer, you kind of had a Beatles thing. You had a drummer that, for whatever reason, you ever see him?
No.
No, actually, we don't.
Don't see him around.
But I'd played with him a bunch.
Yeah.
Back
Yeah.
when he was in the band, it was very engaging. We'd
Yeah.
always just get together, and the 5 of us would all play at the same time. It But no, we haven't seen him very often.
Did you end up on good terms, or
It's confusing because we try to reach out and all of that. I
From
don't
our
know.
perspective,
I think it depends. I don't know. I mean, for me, I thought we kind of not.
If you ask us, I
Parted
think
maybe,
we'd say yes, but if you asked him, he might have a different answer. Who knows?
I think he saw the writing on the wall. He saw he knew that Daniel.
it's always
was,
hard.
Yeah, Daniel was coming in,
Yeah.
and he was
Yeah.
so beyond what Kyle could do at the time. And so one day we came back to the house, and all his drums were gone. And
He'd come and
just
he
quit.
got them, but
Well, that made it easier.
Yes, it
You
did.
know? I mean, that was kind of a godsend. in a
well,
way.
we'd done. I mean, we were doing a bike. There was a biker gig,
Yeah.
and we went to the big compound, and he didn't show up, and we got a hold of Daniel, and he came. It was the first show we'd ever played together. He knew the stuff.
Panicked.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, we
But
just
Daniel,
kind of.
I think
No, I was excited.
And he
Yeah.
got on stage, and I remember it kind of raining, and everybody's at the clubhouse. We've got people out there like it's a balcony or something, and we're playing, and it was just great. I would pound my foot on the stage to try to keep the tempo,
Yeah.
but not when Daniel was playing.
Yeah.
And by the end of the night, the weather cleared up. There were stars in the sky. We were loading the car back up with the gear, and I felt a weight lift, and I thought, I think we were onto something. I think
Yeah.
this might be it.
I just can't help it because I just know that what was the guy that was the Beatles drummer, the original
Best.
Pete. I know Pete had to a million times wake up. No, and you can't help it. I mean, this poor guy's got to. I'm sure he's a good guy, but I'm sure he has. What if
PTSD?
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
I don't know.
What would let's see with the PGV. So, to carry on there, you're a great drummer, man. I mean, I'm not a drummer. I don't really feel qualified to pass judgment, good or bad, on anybody because I'm really not a drummer, But I've been around a lot of drummers and a lot of really good ones, and I think you're one of them, man. I mean,
thank you
You're
very
solid.
much.
You don't fluctuate tempo a great deal, but again, a little human fluctuation doesn't hurt anything anyway,
It's amazing to have the opportunity to walk around and see so many physical pieces that actually produced this, this sort of inspiration in me to learn to play the drums.
Yeah. Well, these guys, like I tell everybody, the instruments are cool, but they're tools.
Yeah.
Chet Atkins, luckily was a friend of mine, and I don't know if this story is really true or not. I heard it was, but Chet was playing at a club in Nashville, and this guy came up. Chet, what kind of guitar is that? Man, that's the greatest selling guitar, and just kept on about the guitar. And then Chet said it in the stand and goes, well, how does it sound now? So it's the player. Obviously
sure.
it's the player.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a statement.
Yeah,
It's true.
how's it sound now?
It doesn't matter what guitar you pick up, it's going to sound like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard so many, James Burton, I'm dropping names because that's who I know, but Burton said, it doesn't matter what guitar I play because my fingers make it sound like me,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
even
so
though he's
true.
known for being a telly player.
Yeah.
So, your first guitar,
So, my first.
your first guitar.
My first guitar. I think it's interesting. So my first acoustic guitar was it must have been a first act in the basement of our grandmother's house. That was something that that's what I would play when I was over, her house. And I remember always wanting an electric guitar. But my dad had said, well, you can't get the electric guitar until you've learned these basics and this acoustic fundamentals. So it was all just blues stuff. It was it's like, if we talk about the tactility of these two instruments, this is the most basic form of this, which is the electric guitar. So I learned as much as I could, and I think, truthfully, our parents took a vacation. I think they went to the Bahamas or Jamaica, and they came back with a Squire Fender. A Fender
Strat.
Yeah.
That red Strat.
That red Strat, and that was around, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old, and that was then I wanted the Strat so I could play like Hendrix,
Right. But you've put the time in on the acoustic, so you've built up calluses and strength, and
Right.
so that was kind of like going from driving a dump truck to power steering Cadillac, kind of, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was kind of off to the races at that point.
I think their strategy was to avoid getting some amp and turning the gain all the way up.
Yeah.
Because that's what a lot of people do when they start on electric. It's like, oh, this is really easy if you turn the gain all the way
So
up.
yeah, and that was the thing too. So I started learning Hendrix stuff, and then I got it taken away as soon as I got it. 'Cause
No
it's like-
kidding.
Yeah, so he took it back away. He said, "You're playing with too much gain and distortion. You can't. How can you hear anything?"
Right.
So then I had to learn some more acoustic bits, and then I got it back.
Well, he was right.
I think so.
Yeah. And your bass?
First bass was my father's bass. He tried to play, but it never worked out for him.
Fernandez.
It was the Red Fernandez
That's right.
P bass copy, and that's a
That's
great
not bad.
bass.
It's
Honestly,
a great
It
bass.
was a wonderful bass.
Yeah.
Spanish made.
Yeah.
Josh, first microphone?
SM 57 blew my voice out, and I blew the mic out.
That's right.
Everybody, yeah, sure, 57, 58.
Yeah.
Danny, with your drums, what was that?
Pearl Export Series was the first kit I had ever bought. I got it from Craigslist. It was $300.
Played a
great
lot of
deal.
shows. We
I
played
remember
shows.
on
A lot of shows.
Just
Still
to
have
bring
it.
back to the microphone, I remember watching Robert Dolce kind of Roger.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roger Dolce. Swing the damn mic around. So I,
Yeah.
so I would get
That's right.
we'd be playing in the garage, and I'd swing it around, and then it'd go through the window.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, the wires in there are about thread thickness.
They are.
I have soldered so many of those things. Hey, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
The Musicians Hall of Fame and Museum has been celebrating the men and women who make the music of our lives since 2006. The Musicians Hall of Fame is the one and only museum in the world that honors the musicians that played on the greatest recordings of all time.
It's a music city, huh? It's, where else are you going to get the cats, all the cats that are in this room?
From Hank to Hendrix, from LA to Nashville, the Musicians Hall of Fame will take you on a musical journey highlighting the talented musicians that created the soundtrack of our lives. Come see what you've heard, and while visiting, check out the interactive Grammy Museum Gallery at the Musicians Hall of Fame. Located in the heart of downtown Nashville in the first floor of the historic Nashville Municipal Auditorium. See you soon at the Musicians Hall of Fame and Museum.
Welcome back to Musicians Hall of Fame Backstage with Greta Van Fleet. So your first drum set was
Pearl Export.
Pearl Exports.
Yeah.
I sold a gazillion of those when the Hanson came out.
Yeah. They made about a zillion of those.
That's the only drums we ever sold was when Hanson played Starwood Amphitheater,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is unfortunately gone now. You would have loved it. We sold so many drum sets, and then when they were over, so was our drum sales. You're a Chili Pepper fan?
Yeah. I've always been a big fan of Chad.
Ted's a friend, and his
He's a
first drum.
Michigan guy.
Yeah. His first kit, he said, was Lincoln Logs and boxes. So
Wow.
you jumped way ahead of him on that, right?
I don't know. You have to start there as a
You'd some-
drummer.
you'd some
Pots,
pots and
pans,
pans.
and then you work your way
Yeah.
to Tinker Toys. And, yeah.
Of course, he also said that he used to steal drums before they gave them to him.
Wow.
He said, I'm the Robin Hood of rock now, but I used to have to go in and steal them and run out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chad.
I guess it was for a good cause.
It was a good cause,
It just
yeah.
works out.
Daniel did not start on the drums.
No, I started on guitar.
Yeah, you're a good guitar player.
And I did
heard
start
you
on
play.
vocals. I started on drums.
Yeah, it's true.
So that was one of the questions I was going to say. Are you a musician as far as instrument goes?
Yeah,
I mean, I understand your voice is an instrument, but I mean, a foreign instrument.
Or is it?
I would say I don't know. Sam doesn't.
I would say it's more kind of like
doesn't
a
think
string
that the
zither.
voice is an instrument. So it's, I guess, up for the masses to decide.
Josh is definitely
No,
a musician.
the jury's still out on
I
that.
kind of started on. My father had a drum kit because again he was dabbling with that, and I would get. I'd always be playing on the
Josh and
drums.
I used to play guitar and drums together.
Yeah, I'd be on drums, and Jake would be on.
We'd come up with like fake
electric.
band names and stuff. Like
All
play
kinds
the
of
bass.
terrible band names.
Awful.
Yeah, but then eventually we had a piano in the house, so and my grandmother had bought the piano years ago and moved into our house, so we would reach up and play it, and so I knew my way around the kit and
The one unique thing that
keys.
we all have, and I think is an advantage for us, is that we're all multi-instrumentalists. And we all can kind of view something in a different way, and you know, we all speak these different languages to a certain degree, and it's been really helpful for writing and many other forms of creativity, I suppose.
Yeah, you can become empathetic, or you can put yourself in somebody else's position, or think differently in the context of a different instrument.
Right. So, do you ever foresee, Josh, you jump in on the drums and you jump in on front
done
guitar?
it.
You have?
We've done it once.
Well,
Well, we've done it.
A couple
done my homework.
times.
In our
I mean,
own
as far as
time.
live is concerned,
Yeah.
a couple times. But
that's what I mean.
I'm no
Yeah.
Daniel Wagner, so I don't. I just.
Well, and I'm
Yeah.
no Sam Kiska, but I was playing the bass.
I think the fans would kind of enjoy something like that, though. And
Yeah.
They ate it up.
It was,
Okay.
Where was
a
that?
good, it was a
Melbourne?
It
good
was
show.
Australia,
Australia,
definitely.
Yeah.
There's something was you had injured your.
Yeah, I had pulled like a rib muscle, so it was kind of tougher to play the long shows, and we thought, well, we can jam. So
Let's do
throw
a
in,
12
let's switch
bar.
out. I won't play drums. I'll just play bass for maybe a 10-15 minute jam, and then it eats up a part of the set.
You said a
And,
blues jam.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you played
12 bar.
some harmonica, Jake, didn't you?
Yeah.
Jake came out,
Took
played.
out Pop's old trick, you know, some
Yeah.
harp.
yeah, I
was
love
bad.
harmonica. That's great.
Yeah. Me too.
So, have other people told you what I think is I've kind of watched you, which you would expect to have, but progress musically, talent-wise, over the last few years? I mean, I think you guys have grown into your instruments since I first started listening to you.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
It was always their father too. We always had rehearsals at their house in their garage, and we would go on vacation every once in a while, and he would just occasionally step out into the garage and, kind of point out, you guys are getting better. And just, thanks, and then he would leave. And
That makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
it really does.
I mean, that
It
can-
was such a confidence.
Sometimes you
booster.
can't even explain why you're floating, but somebody says something, and it means more than getting paid $1 million sometimes.
Yeah.
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 It's credentials. Maybe it's just,
You got to have confidence. If you don't, if somebody's constantly browbeating you, even if you're great at something, you can't do it because you're so nervous,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why, and it's easier said than done, but fear is something we try to remove from the equation because it really can hinder, the creative process and a performance and all of that.
Well, y'all look totally at ease on stage. I like you, even probably more at home there than here right now.
Stage is pretty cozy.
Strength in numbers. I think that we're a unit, the band itself. I think that it lends itself to that confidence and that communication with the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we grew up sort of playing. We've had it's seen as that we blew up very quickly, so we took off in a rocket very quickly. But in reality, 5 years prior to that, we were in the garage. We were playing biker shows, guns a-blazing. It was like we were working as trying to be musicians.
In and out of-
which is why when someone says you're a great musician, it's one of the greatest. I think to us, one of the greatest compliments.
You heard what Neil Young said on the film.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And we completely resonate with that type of ideology. But over the years, the last 4 years of touring, I think we really have evolved as musicians. We've really come to a new, we formed a new relationship with the instruments that we strap over in our backs or every night to go out and play.
It's a fun
Once you're
push and
comfortable
pull.
in your own
Yeah.
skin, everybody can see it. If you're panicked, they can smell it.
Right?
And the unmerciful.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
if you have that air of confidence, which you guys have, people are just they want to be winners, and so I
Yeah.
think you guys are doing that. So, what made you know that you needed to write original material? I mean, if not, you'd just be a cover band.
Yeah, well, I think we were always writing stuff, just growing up, I would be just singing and making up songs and playing on the piano. We would just always be writing. I think that inclination comes from hearing something and not being able to grab a vinyl and turn it on because it doesn't exist. I guess that's why the artist creates anything to provide, something that the universe cannot. You just kind of... And I think that so as soon as we were together making music, it wasn't just playing the stuff we loved, but it was creating new stuff, stealing like artists in a way. Kind
Everybody bars,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess that was always kind of there from the beginning. From day one.
Yeah, I think evolution takes hold when you take the framework and you break it, and stomp on it, and you create something that hasn't already previously existed.
We formed this band to make music
Yeah.
from
Okay,
the very
so-
get-go.
So here we're Greta Van Fleet. We're in a rehearsal hall or hotel room or something. What's the usual process for? As a country writer, a lot of times we would come up with a title, and then try to make the music fit the lyrical content. Jake, do you come in with a riff, or Josh, do you come in with a lyric or verse? Or?
It's really interesting. This is like the most, I think, variable, dynamic part of the chemistry with us is it's completely different every single time. There's never one absolute consistent process. There's never. I mean, we're trying different things, and we we'll go 2 hours out. We'll go down to Chattanooga or something. We'll rent a cabin in the woods, and we'll be stuck there for weeks. And then it's always like you wake up, you hear Sam playing something on the keys. You're like, that's great. What is that? And then that becomes
Right.
the entire ethos of something. That becomes a song because it just strikes a chord. Or I've been in my room working on some guitar part. Or, Danny comes in with a guitar part, or Josh comes in with something on the keys. It sort of starts with this framework, I suppose. And it could be a lyric, it could be a melody even, and it's just different. Every song is different. And so we have to serve them independently as well in that same way.
And all you guys write.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And when you write a song, does everybody's name go as the band, or?
Yep.
That's a cool thing to do because it'll save you a lot of grief.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
And it
though.
makes everybody
It really is.
part of,
Yeah.
But speaking of what you said, Life in the Fast Lane,
Yeah.
Joe Walsh was doing this exercise. Dust in the Wind.
Mm-hmm.
His wife said, "What is that?" And he goes, "That's just a finger. You need it."
We've had those too.
Yeah.
It'd be like,
Yeah, a lot of that
what
happens.
was one song it's on the record that's coming out called "The Way to Dreams." We were in Pennsylvania somewhere. Danny's hands were badly beaten, and it was just something playing, and just some little riff, some little lick, some line, some motif, and someone's like, "That sounds great. Let's use that as like a transition
Right.
piece," and
Yeah.
it turned into a song.
So I love this new song a lot. This Broken Bells. Did you do that?
Kind of.
I mean, I saw you playing acoustic guitar somewhere.
Yeah, it goes back to like 2016. I remember we were in the van on the way to Chicago, and Josh and I were sitting in the very back seat and kind of just pulled out our phones and started just playing a bunch of bullshit. Started writing and writing, and then we went through 30 minutes of random stuff, and then found this one that was like, oh, that was pretty cool, and then we kind of extrapolated on that on the way back from Chicago, and then
Yeah, it was all just development from that point
Yeah, I
on.
mean,
Yeah.
we kind of at the meat of the song, just almost instantaneously.
Lyrics.
Of course, that we put out off for,
6 years.
yeah, a long time.
But it's a new single, isn't it?
It
Right
is.
now,
Yes.
It was
it's
written.
being March of 2021.
It was started the writing process like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
A couple of songs on the new album.
You don't want to
actually,
put them
like
out too quick.
that. No.
He lived on his shelf for long enough to
Yeah.
collect some dust, and then we pulled it
Yeah,
off.
let it simmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
We
cool.
treated that song like Dad treated Jake in guitar. You have to mature
Yeah.
a little bit.
Well, you know what, though? Honestly, once you become accomplished at writing and you come on something that's, you'll know if it's average or good most of the time. You don't want to blow it. You don't want to just rush it to get through to it. Okay, we got another song.
Right.
When you get those magic moments, and they don't come that often, usually, you want to take it as far as you can because it could change your life. It could be you may think you've already had your career record with Highway Song or something, but you may not have come close to having it yet, because
Yeah. I think that's an interesting thing. So many people ask us, like, well, when, capture the lightning before the spigot runs out. There's, the last drop of water has fallen. But it's interesting because if there's usually a singular process that most people like to they're working with, and something eventually drains the creativity or something. And it's so amazing about the way that we sort of work in the creative process is that there's so many different ideas that we're not just a solo act. We're not just one guy with a guitar playing, and that there's so many ideas between Daniel and Josh and Sam and myself that it's really kind of interesting.
And we do like to leave space and communicate in a nonverbal way. It's just like a musical language. That's like the most fun.
You mean you want the song to breathe some? And
Yeah.
And to like what you said, it's interesting. I mean, to like the album that we've finished now, our next album will be very different than that, and so on and so forth to the previous.
Yeah,
Well,
I
that
think
can-
the well will only run dry if you stick to a formulaic means of production.
Right.
If you stick to the same method of writing a song.
We were very much, away. We were not interested in putting the song on a conveyor belt, you know.
Yeah.
And then
Never.
we
Yeah.
go down the line.
Well, I
Beating
think
it to death.
there's a trap you can fall in. You're going to have diehard fans who are going to like, no, this is Greta Van Fleet. You can't alter that sound, you know. But on the other hand, you look at the Beatles.
Yeah.
They altered their look and their sound 4 times at least, and it was like 4 new bands, you know. And I think I can prolong your longevity for many years if you continue to, which I think you will grow like you guys are going.
Yeah.
So you've traveled the world. Do you have a favorite concert you've done?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Such a
Very
tough
tough.
question.
I don't know.
Every concert's very
Yeah,
different.
I would say right
They are.
here. This is the best one.
This is one of the good
Actually,
ones.
municipal auditorium.
That
was
yeah.
really
Good
wonderful.
Stairs.
Yeah, for those who don't know, there's a 10,000 seat, very historic arena above us, the Nashville Historic Municipal Auditorium,
Yeah.
opened in 1962. And like I tell people, the Beatles and Hendrix didn't play here. Other than that,
Just about every.
just about
about
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
That
another
was
one of those
a
things.
wonderful show.
I suppose you get
A
to
lot of
check
fun.
off the list because of its,
Did you
significance.
video it?
No, I don't think we did film it.
Hmm.
Wish we would have.
I wish we had.
Yeah,
Just have to
we
come
should
back.
have.
There's always retrospection or something like, yeah,
Right, we
probably
should
would have been a good
have
idea.
recorded it.
Actually, I
lot.
think there's footage from the show in the My Way Soon
Oh,
video.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Super
we
8.
did shoot Super 8 stuff there actually.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some of my favorite shows are in South America.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to ask, was outside the States,
Yeah.
what's
I
your
think
favorite place to
outside
play?
of the States?
Like
Some of
Bologna
maybe-
was a
I was about to say
Bologna was an
yeah.
amazing show. It was
Italy,
just, I mean, there was a field of people that just as far as the eye could
It's
see.
huge. It was, I think it was about
And I'd never worn a jumpsuit, but I zipped onto the jumpsuit, got on stage, and it was like,
Was it
we
the
have
first time
arrived.
you
It was
ever
great.
wore
It
one of
was
those?
really exciting. And lots of people came, very, very interesting people.
Now,
and
was this a
friends.
Greta Van Fleet show, or was it a show with other artists?
This was a Greta Van
It was a
Fleet
Greta
show.
show,
was.
I think it was about 17 or 18,000 people. The day started with the heaviest rain you've ever seen in your life.
That's right.
I got
Yeah.
invited to go an hour away and drive Lamborghinis.
That's right.
And,
It's a big good day for you.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it
long
was a-
day.
I was
Good day for
pent up
everybody.
practicing some licking. I remember that fun, like pretty fondly.
I was meeting with some gentleman that came in. I was a fan of his work. I thought he could do the album art,
Yeah.
the new album art. So he came out. We got
snippet.
talking, and
Snippets of
Yeah.
time.
it was a wild day.
But then everybody showed up despite the rain.
Now,
Great
was that
audience.
a normal hour or a Lamborghini hour, or what?
Who knows? Just like this was like a Musicians Hall of Fame. It was like 25 minutes, I think we were in there.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I hear you. Well, what's the due date on the release on the album?
Oh, boy.
April 16th.
Yeah, 16th.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, somewhere there.
I believe that says.
So, I mean, how are you looking at, like,
Maybe.
I mean, the business has, like, totally changed from when I was in it. There's just not, that I know of, record sales much anymore. I mean, not trying to get into your business, but, I mean, it's pretty, I think, is it kind of like it was in the 50s, where it's mostly, you're making your money on the road, or?
Definitely making
And airplay?
money on the road. And
That's the great thing about you, all of you being writers here. ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC, what do you?
well, the other great thing is we love to play live. A
What
lot
was
of
that?
ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC, what are you
That's
writers?
a great question.
That's the business.
I think it's BMI.
BMI.
BMI,
Yeah.
okay.
that sounds- that's
So all
right,
of you
that's right,
get
yeah.
quarterly, or,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's that's a big thing for you, you know.
Yeah.
Have you bought houses?
I have not.
Do you even
I
need a
did.
house yet?
I hope
did.
not. I fear domestication, you know?
Yeah, it's
I'm like, I'm not ready
definitely
for that.
Yeah.
Not ready
Yeah,
for
it
that.
was at the beginning of the pandemic, and we all decided that we needed to be somewhere instead of just being troubadours, just going around the globe.
I suppose
doing
that
our-
was our home. The
That
road
was our home.
Nashville was that place.
So
that,
this,
it made a lot of sense.
It forced us to domesticate in some way or
Well,
another.
we in and out all the time. You know?
Right. I was going to say, do you even?
If we were in the
Yeah.
United States, we were between New York, Nashville, or Los Angeles.
Right.
And we were here so often, and so much
Yeah.
of our. I mean, so we also grew up coming down here. Our grandparents lived in
Crossville.
Crossville.
Yeah, so every summer
So
we come down.
We come down
Mhm.
here,
Go
like
camping
Ozone
and-
Falls and stuff. We'd be camping over there in a lot of those regions. So it was also really familiar to us in some way.
Didn't y'all record it? Was it Blackbird?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
How'd you like that?
Loved
It
Blackbird.
was great. Yeah, we
fantastic.
recorded Anthem of the Peaceful Army in Blackbird.
And
He's got a
McBride.
microphone collection.
Oh, John is.
Only-
We got
he's a hell of
to
a
got
guy.
to line them all up. You know, it's
Yeah.
like just got to sing into every one. You know, he had all the channels and everything going. It was like,
Well, he's a
ooh.
huge Beatle fan. Speaking of that,
Oh, yeah.
have you guys ever? I don't think you've recorded it at
A room.
no in London
Oh.
at Abbey Road.
No,
No,
I mean,
No.
Yeah.
have
Do
you
you want that
been
to be
on?
on your bucket list?
I would at
Maybe
least
that's on
like
the
to
bucket
see it.
Right.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine
from the
went over,
inside.
But
he
just
said
like
they've got all the mics and drawers and the keyboards and everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, they
Which you
really,
can use. You
they
know?
really invented
Yeah.
a sound there, and I think that's what's so amazing about it. But EMI doesn't come with the Beatles. Unfortunately.
That's true.
Again, that's my point. It's tools, but
Right.
the thing about it though, I can't get inspired playing a pink polka dotted guitar.
No.
Now, if it's a beat up 57 V-neck Strat,
We need Randy
that
Rhoads or
I want to pick that up.
Yeah.
The other I reject.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
You know,
This
but
tool looks too. It's funny.
this tool's too not me.
Yeah.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
In another way. All right. Hey, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey, Musicians Hall of Fame and Museum Backstage fans, check out our new Backstage gear. From t-shirts to coffee mugs, we've got you covered. Not yet a fan? Check out our YouTube channel and enjoy some intimate conversations with the world's best musicians.
Welcome back to Musicians Hall of Fame Backstage with Greta Van Fleet. So, you've got a new album coming out April the 16th, like we talked about.
Yes, we do.
And you say it's a double album or?
Kind of.
Feels like
Some would
It's an
argue.
extensive album.
It's
The Battle at Gardens Gate. Yeah.
extensive title too.
It's
yeah.
right, extensive
It's-
title.
There's 12 songs, but it's very long. We had to put it on 2 vinyls for the vinyl pressing.
Are you getting a demand for vinyl now?
Yeah.
I think so. It's
Bit of a resurgence.
really interesting. Yeah. I mean, in terms of just the resurgence of it. I mean, you have rap artists, pop
Right.
artists, you name it, folk, R&B, and then there's this
Country,
all doing
even.
like vinyl,
All of it.
and it seems so. There's a whole aspect of the experiential aspect that's missing from a lot of, the musical aspects, and you have something so physical that's almost telling you a story. It's like,
Yeah.
it's such an important part of things, and right
The
now
context.
the context, period, and that's becoming a big thing, and for us especially, the type of music we make, it seems our vinyl is a pretty popular item.
It's a lot cooler holding the vinyl up
Oh,
than the
it's-
CD.
Yes, you're
I mean,
right.
Yep.
What is that on the cover?
Yeah, if you're gonna do it,
Right.
just do it. And
Yeah,
that's what the
magnifying
vinyl
glass.
is.
They
But
should be
speaking of
selling
CD, are you
CDs.
selling? Anybody buying CDs anymore?
Surprisingly,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, you
That's
would be
good.
surprised.
Somebody told me the other day that's making a huge resurgence as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, that's good.
about that here, but
That's better for you guys.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of fans like to have tangible things. I mean, the internet goes down, you're kind of screwed.
Right,
You know?
right.
So,
If I
Yeah.
really love a piece of music, then I will definitely purchase it on a physical platform. And that physical platform used to be everything you needed to know about the band. Look at the back of it and said, "Oh, this is
Man.
the drummer, and this is how they do their thing."
I cannot tell you when I think back as being a kid and had twin beds, and I remember laying on the bed, Three Dog Night album, Jimi Hendrix Greatest Hits, Dylan Greatest, just looking at the pictures every time the record was playing, instead of seeing a video, you'd look at the
Yeah,
album cover and read the names, you know, that kind of thing.
absolutely. That's a huge thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we grew up with that as well, but it's what's so interesting now is that there are so many people. There's so much of our generation that's getting into that, that's consuming that, and experiencing that, and
It is a piece of art.
It is art, you know. It's just like my favorite definition of a guitar is functional art.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it truly is, and even some drum sets are awful cool looking. I mean, you know, really.
Absolutely.
I mean, the old sparkle ones they used to make.
Oh, I
and,
know.
Especially when you fill them with goldfish.
And
Yeah,
dynamite.
yeah.
This sounds inhumane.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I had J.I. Allison, the cricket drummer, was one day we were doing an interview, and he was talking about he had a drum set that had a light bulb in it, and it would come on, and he goes, as I played during the night, the drums would because the heat would change the.
We used to hide booze in the bass drum.
Oh, yeah, that didn't happen
Fish
for
out.
long. Josh used to light cymbals on
I remember
fire.
there was that's right. So, yeah,
It's
I
like
did.
tactile pieces, as you say. It's another way to
Art.
play
It's a
it.
functional piece of art.
Functional piece
Physical
of
art.
art.
I remember once we had nothing to hold the kick drum in place, so we had some kid at a bar sit on the thing the whole night. Just went and hunkered down and sat on. I don't know how we did it.
Josh
he
used
would
to-
probably walked out
Josh
of there
used to
going like that.
stand on the bass drum too. He'd
yeah.
jump up on it and jump off, and it was some serious theatrics.
Oh, you could do like Al Jackson did, and get a nail.
Right, yeah, just right through the center of the bass
Yeah,
drum.
right.
That'll keep
Nobody's
it
gonna see it.
I like my drums too much, though. I don't think I could hurt them like that.
Yeah.
Now that this COVID-19 is, you know, we're not sitting here with masks on.
Yeah.
Life is slowly coming back to every
It's like
form
Fern
of
Gully or something.
restaurants
Some
and
mass
hopefully
vaccination thing.
concert venues.
Yeah.
What's some of the gigs that you guys have got pre-booked already?
A lot of
I'm sure
talks.
people are dying to know where they can
Yeah.
buy tickets.
We've been. I mean, it was really strange because all year it was sort of like all of these hypothetical, everything. As far as the
Everything.
dates, or especially as far as the dates of shows are concerned, and they kept reshaping and they pushed back, and so now it looks like this summer things are going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty realistic for people to get together and do that again.
I think so.
Certainly by fall, but.
Yeah.
The whole thing's a waiting game. You
Yeah.
know, it's like we have a couple of ideas in place, but nothing announced permanently yet. But we're hoping to very soon.
Well, have you been able to make lemonade out of the lemons as far as this time, downtime, but writing a lot more songs and just
Yeah.
Oh,
Lots
yeah.
of silver
I
lining
mean, I'd
there.
like to look at it. I mean, I think it's kind of like a double-edged sword in a certain way. On one end of the blade, you have the fact that because at the ethos of what we do, of our bands, specifically like ourselves, live touring is such at the core or a purpose of what we kind of do. So if we take touring out of the equation, then what we have left is we have to turn to the other side and take the creativity and motivate it somewhere else. And so that, I suppose that's a positive for this
Yeah.
year. We've been able to shoot a lot of videos, co-direct a lot of visual representations of these songs that we've crafted, and we've been able to, play a lot together, jam a lot together. We've been doing a lot of writing. We've started writing a new album, and I mean,
Two of the
how deep
songs
are
on
you
this
into the new
too.
album?
into
It's tough to say.
I mean, 4 or 5 songs already, or
We got a few songs for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult to say because
Yeah,
the
sure.
project is still such a baby, just like Garden's Gate was such a baby. When we went to Greg Kristen, we said, hey, we want to make a cinematic album.
is that your producer?
Greg
Yeah,
Kristen,
he
yeah.
produced
yeah.
this one.
And we were so
who's he
attracted.
worked with other than you guys?
Well, that's exactly the thing. We were so attracted to work with him because he worked with the likes of Adele and the new
Adele.
the new Paul McCartney record, Egypt Station. I guess there's a newer
Yeah.
one out now, and the Foo Fighters.
Oh yeah.
So
It's
just his
just a really, really extensive.
So how did he
list.
find out about you guys?
well.
It's a really good
I don't
question.
know.
I think we were both mutual fans
Yeah,
of each other.
Yeah, but I mean, he had to. Was it the YouTube or something? Or
I'm
did he
sure.
reach
I mean, we're all really
This music industry is a small,
right,
yeah.
and we're
small industry.
deep in that. So when
Yeah.
there's something cool coming up, we'll get to know about it.
Yeah,
Or-
his name was at the top of the list for us, so we kind of really liked his
yeah.
work. So we went to visit with him at his place, and we had some shows.
That
and
had to be
everything.
like a total trip, wasn't it?
Oh, for
Well,
sure.
he's-
Absolutely.
yeah, and he said one of the funniest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
And he's just so sweet and endearing and intelligent and talented, and it was
Worldly,
great to just
yeah.
be able
And
to work
Greg
with him.
is-
You know,
His musical dexterity was
man.
what really he held up high in against every other producer.
Yeah, we met with a couple different producers, but I think ultimately the decision we made to go with Greg, and I mean, it enriched everything that we did on the album.
Okay, there's different methods of being a producer. Some people are really like Mutt Lang is like every note is. I mean, a intro drum beat could take 4 days.
Right.
How did he work with you guys? Did he let you guys kind of do your thing? Or did he gently guide you, or did he make definite statements that he wanted you to do?
Kind of the exact opposite of that. He really gave a lot of. It was more so trust. We had trust in him. He had trust in us, and it
Right.
was such a
big thing.
smooth, genuine operation. But it was never really to the point where he got so ever. He never
was
got
present.
nitpicky.
Never.
He was very present, and he was a bit of a fly on the wall, and that's generally what we looked to do.
So he let you be you,
100%,
and just kept you from falling in a ditch. or-
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
And if there was
absolutely.
any
we
sort
never
of
fell in a ditch.
dilemma, he was a great mediator. We
Yeah.
would say, and we would trust him.
Yeah.
So
I think-
Greg,
I think-
what do you think?
I think Greg, that's a good way to put it, was the ultimate mediator for what the ballot.
which is
Card
sometimes
was.
I think rather impossible for anybody when it comes to. I mean, we can be so stubborn,
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
artistic differences sometimes, and I guess that's just how it goes, really. But
Probably the largest musical encyclopedia that I've ever met.
Greg? Yeah.
When you had a question about
Yeah.
what tone you wanted.
Yeah, right.
Well, you could do it this way. You could do it this
Fascinating
way. You
to
could do
talk
it
to,
that
yeah.
way.
When you're in studio, you go direct with the bass, or do
The
you
bass
use an
is
amp, or what?
mostly direct and sometimes a B15,
Yeah.
and that's it. Very simple. I mean, sometimes we would pull an EMI, put the bass amp in a room with a little bit of resonance. But yeah, I think that we kind of really just very directly honed in on every single tone that we could, and energy.
Yeah.
Jay, what did you use an amp? Did you use a big amp or a little amp, or
All kinds of that.
A lot of
stuff,
amps,
a lot of
actually.
And that's the
different
thing
amps.
about the record, is it's so diverse, and it's
Yeah, I mean, I mean, we get into depth with some of the stuff that we did, but there was so much experimentation, so many amps, so many guitars, so many instruments.
I mean, a lot of times, Kiss or somebody use an amp this big.
Yeah.
You think it was a stack of
Fender
Marshalls.
Champ.
Yeah.
Right.
kind of the best
Little
amps,
Fender, right, yeah.
I
actually.
love those. I used a lot of Fender Champ.
Yeah.
The most
Office.
important part about the album was the live, capturing the takes live.
That was what I was going to ask you. I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of times, when I was doing it, a lot of people did it. Everybody was in the studio at the same time, even backup vocals on some of the
Right.
country stuff. Do you guys build it? Do you stack it as like start with drums and bass and then add Josh, or do you put tracks? Is your scratch track often the vocal track you keep, or do you just?
It's really
Yeah.
different for every single song. It honestly depends on the song, but
It is.
very often we always start with all of us in the room.
100%. Yeah, and
It
it's
always starts with
just
that.
I
so
think that's the
live
best myself
performance. It
because
is.
I call it spontaneous creativity. You're
Right.
gonna, rising tide lifts all ships, and when you hear Josh or Jake or Danny or somebody do something that just makes every one of you play better, right?
Yep.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
100%.
No.
We could put down each individual
Fluid.
track to a click, and it would sound
Right.
lifeless.
It
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
like
It's
it's
sad.
fluid.
I
It's-
hate it when people
it's
do
sort of
that.
it's
Yeah.
raw
There's no
and
reason to.
organic, and it's sort of honest, and it's
I come
music,
out of it a better
and-
musician that
Right.
way too.
That's
you
the idea.
really work for it,
Yeah.
You lose the soul of the song.
But
I
yeah,
think,
it's,
I think that's
it's
so
all very
much the actual sole purpose of music in itself is to be human and to express how you feel
Yeah.
and act. And if that was perfect, it would be untruthful because we're not perfect.
Then
that
yeah,
way.
human would be perfect if the
Yeah,
music
yeah,
were
human,
perfect.
yeah.
It's
So
why,
the
yeah, a lot
bulk of
that-
your stuff in the studio, you go in there as a group, and then maybe tweak it for the most part. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yeah, mix it around.
Essentially,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's good.
Especially this album. It
We
was
do
pretty
generally go. We get a track in 2 days, maybe. We're already working on the next thing, or writing the next thing in the studio, or this or that. And I'm generally putting down lyrics before I go into the booth. and sing
Right.
the part, and yeah, and then we move on to the next song, and it kind of not so often do we go back.
When you write lyrics, do you spend a lot of time on them, or do you feel that when it happens, it just falls out?
It's both.
Depends.
So you spend a lot of time thinking about it.
Yeah, I think so. Probably in the the front of my head and the back of my head. It's just sometimes probably subconscious stuff going on, but yeah, I kind of on this most recent album, it's been a little bit more time to write each track because there's such a meticulous sort of approach that you have to take to something like this.
Well, and what you write down is going to be around after you're dead.
That's it.
So-
I always
Right.
think, this is
Oh,
like
no pressure.
this stuff lives forever. We don't,
No pressure, Josh.
That's true, and
Not in the flesh.
I'll help
you have to look at it like that because once you
Help you
put it
out.
out, it's there for now forever.
Right. Yeah. And it's not really, about us. That's why I said in the flesh, it doesn't matter. To hell with legacy. The idea is that we can create this thing that does something good in the world, and that's really the only thing that
Right.
matters.
That's the most profound thing.
It sounds cliche, but that's really what it is.
Well, I think I know the answer, but so are you having fun?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So,
Oh yeah.
No, never. No, we try to be really
We're very
dull
serious
and
people.
keep, in our lane. Not upset anybody either.
It's a drag, actually.
Yeah, it's a drag.
It's a blast. It's so fun.
Oh,
It's,
Yeah.
it's a dream
Suppose
come true.
if you could have
It is a
asked
great
like four guys, 4 years ago who were playing in the garage, if you could show us videos of performances that we would have come to do, and places we would have come to be, and people, places, culture that we would have come to see and experience, I don't think we would have believed that. I don't
Right.
think that the four of us, young guys, would have gone. I think that, what a shell-shocking thing. To experience, and still be at this age.
Well,
Yeah.
I know you guys have met Tom Hanks, and
Yeah.
I mentioned this to somebody before because one of my favorite movies is That Thing You Do.
He referenced that when we met him, actually.
Glad you brought that up.
Well, and
Yeah.
I remember when I first heard my band, and later my first as a writer, country writer, hearing my first song on radio, and like James Pankow, trombone player for Chicago, he was sitting where you're sitting, and he said, I'm driving down the interstate, in L.A., Make Me Smile comes on, and I'm like, they think I'm a nut in the car because I'm like, I'm on the radio.
Yeah.
So, did y'all have that thing you do moment?
That
With the first time
it's a
you heard
big
your
moment,
song on the radio?
right?
It's a huge
I
moment.
think so, yeah.
That's a good question, didn't we?
I kind of remember there
remember
was
Highway Tune.
a local station was going to play
Yeah, Banana, right?
something that I don't know if we even... It wasn't the track that everybody would know.
Marlon
Or
Young.
something. What was it,
Something like-
Highway 2?
Yeah, so I think we were actually,
But it
we went
wasn't-
back to Rust Belt Studios in Royal Oak, which around Detroit.
Highway Tune, you know.
Yeah, and we were recording and stuff, and I don't even know if we'd even released the song, even Highway Tune yet at this particular time.
Right, it wasn't that version
older
that we
version
put
of
out.
And
Right.
Marlon Young, who's the guitar player for Kid Rock, who we were working with,
Mm-hmm.
he was like called in a favor to a radio station, and we're all sitting in the car, and he's like, "Hey guys, watch this," and he gets his phone out, and he's like, "Hey Bob or Ben or whatever,"
Yeah.
he's like, "I'm gonna send you a song. I want you to spin it." And he's like, "All right, great." And he hangs up. And we're all sitting there having a drink in the car with Al Sutton, the producer, and they turn on the radio and the song comes on because we wanted to hear how it sounded in the car for
Right.
radio. So
Right.
the
Yeah.
local
a
the
bit of a
local station.
practical
I don't
thing,
remember which
you know?
station because
Yeah.
does anyone actually played it, and we actually were able to hear it when it and mixing.
Well, that's how it sounds.
That was one of those moments I remember. That was pretty magical. I was like,
That's
wow.
that's got to be, a thrill, but a lot of
It's
times.
always kind of strange. You're in the grocery store or something, and all
Yeah.
of a sudden it's like,
Oh yeah,
what's
I've heard
going
that
on?
somewhere. Oh, that's me.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Weird stuff like
yeah.
that.
In the studio though, here in Nashville, we used to just mix down to a 4-inch speaker for that reason, to see what it sounded like in a Volkswagen.
Right.
Yep.
If it sounded good there, then
You're doing okay.
if you cranked it up,
Yeah.
the home
Right.
unit, it's going to sound good.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming in. I really have looked forward to doing this for a long time, and I think you guys are just at the very beginning of a very, very long and successful career. And as long as you just stay as humble and as cool as you are, I think you'll have even a longer one. 'Cause truthfully, I do think that you handle yourselves much past your years, you know. And of course, I've met some older people that are jerks that that I
They're not from the Midwest, though, are they?
no, no, they're not. So I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure your parents are very, very proud. And once again, thank you so much for being on Musicians Hall of Fame Backstage. Thank you all for watching, and tune back in next week. See you then. I kind of know that you guys like old men. In a way.
It's a great preface.
Yes, I like that.
No, seriously, I thought that you might enjoy meeting Dwayne Eddy.
What a pleasure.
You don't know who I am.
I'm Sam. Very nice to meet
Good to
you.
meet you.
I'm Jake.
Gosh,
Nice to
Jake.
meet you.
I am Stan.
Josh.
Try to stand as
Must
well.
stand.
Danny, nice to meet you. It's a pleasure.
Drummer. Yeah.
That is me.
Hey,
Well,
I brought you a couple of presents because, you know, once you get successful, people always want to give you stuff. You would have died to being able to buy a few years back. So,
Yeah.
we can get the girls to bring those in here.
How
I
you
got
use
some of my
these,
signature
Dwayne?
guitars.
Dwayne's
You can figure out who gets what.
Yeah.
Who uses what. Jake, I think you'll like
Incredible.
this 6-string bass.
Oh, wow.
So I
Yes.
got that electro, but it's better.
Thank you.
You're gonna hang them on the wall, whatever.
Incredible.
I just came along to tell you guys that you, in
These are signature models.
case you didn't know, that you're really good musicians.
This is real, right? I didn't drink too much coffee. I'm hallucinating.
You are. It's not my fault. Every one of you, just play your heads off. And love your singing, and love your playing, love your writing. And you know what I really like is the arrangements. Because you do, I used to do that, start off easy and build. And you guys do that a lot. And I was thinking that bass string guitar would be good on like a machine age. Is that where you hit the low D just once in a while?
Yeah, you know.
Try it on that one.
I love that.
That's it. That's it.
You want,
Incredible.
you want Dwayne to sign the back of the
Nice just to
headstock
hear
for you
it
or
from
whatever?
me.
Absolutely, that
Oh man.
would be the most ideal.
Do you mind?
Do I mind? It's yours.
Hey, shit.
Huh?
Incredible.
Oh, what?
Giving us a signature.
Oh, sure, I can do that.
Do you want black or silver?
You got a black, I think, for the back of the headstock.
Do silver on the black one, though. Danny, I didn't want you to feel left out, so I'm going to give you one of my strats.
Want me to hold it for you?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Better.
Now, I had the
Here,
neck
hold that in
shaved
and I'll
off
get
so it's faster,
Which way
and
do
I
you
put a
want
three-string
Read it.
three-string
Do it
tree
however
on
you
it.
want.
Keep the G
You've
string
done it all,
jumping
sure.
out.
Here, whatever's easiest for you.
That's
I
pretty.
do.
I just noticed
It's been a
how
while
pretty
since
that
I've
back.
actually-
Broken bells that
beautiful.
sound good. or something like
Oh, absolutely.
Sleek.
It is sleek. Thank you.
that. You're welcome.
That'd be great with that wah-wah solo.
Absolutely. Yeah,
These got
excited.
cases too and gig bag with that too, by the way. So
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Brilliant. Oh,
Look
that's so
at
gorgeous.
that.
We gotta get this.
Oh, yeah, let me have that pen back.
I'll trade you.
We're just appreciating this.
Well, how you guys enjoying the road? Well, not you, I guess you haven't been able to do that, have
Well,
you?
not this year, not as much.
It was like
But we're doing Nashville. It's
You enjoying your
Yeah.
success?
I think
Are
so.
you having fun?
Well, this is enjoying success for
I
me.
know you're perfect.
for us. I think this is it. I think we're enjoying it right now.
Well, I know it's hard dang work.
Yeah.
You know, as you find out.
Yeah.
Looks like his album cover. Huh?
Yeah.
That's the iconic signature right
Yeah.
Yeah.
there.
Not very good.
Yeah. Thank you.
We got to get some pictures.
We all
Let's do
think
it.
so.
This isn't your signature model, but could I trouble
Oh,
you
yeah.
for a signature? So I don't feel so left out.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Maybe I should do it over here.
Pickguard's cool, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let me do it. So you got. Boy, they're heavy damn things.
Kidding.
Man, I want
Solid ash is kind
to
of.
plug this thing in. So they
Goes out.
Ab workout.
1, 2, 3. Cool. Awesome, thank you. I'm good.
Sweet. I'm still shaking.
yeah. It's been fine.
Is it good, Paige? Is this turning out all right?